Sorry about that. Um,
Awesome.
so, how are things going for you? How has life been?
Um, Good question. Um it's been very progressive in terms of like awakening and going into spirituality and consciousness. I think has been really really pivotal to my work and life. I feel like and I think you can agree it's especially during this time it's been very profound if you're if you're on this journey and everything just seems to seem different when you sort of woken up, if that makes sense. And so I think the spiritual awakening is a process, and I think I'm definitely way into that process.
Yeah.
But it's just one of the reasons why I sort of reached out to you was because, well, I as I said to you before, I don't believe that there are such things as coincidences
Mhm.
in this universe. And yeah, I'm grateful to have met someone who is um, just a wonderful human being and is an explorer of consciousness and yeah, who's real about it as well. I think that's also something that you can kind of tell, like when people are not really they're operating through ego consciousness as opposed to
Yeah.
yeah,
Those
so
clouds.
it's been yeah, exactly. A true spiritual um explorer will be be fairly humble about it because it's not something it's bigger than it's bigger than anything. So yeah, and learning about your journey with psychedelics has been something that I'm just I learning from you will be amazing. So
Well, I hope to offer as much as I can. Yeah, in terms of people that are, faux woke, not really practicing what they preach, like this guy who, you and I met because of. It sucks because right now there we have a huge opportunity, as you and I discussed before, in terms of communication, in terms of connectivity, just like this conversation we're having now. Only is I'm sorry, we're only able to do so because of this. Because of tech, because of the different movements and advocacy groups that are going on, pushing for progressive ideas and things like that. It's like it is a movement. It's an awakening. It's a consciousness awakening, and it can be obscured pretty
mm,
easily. With I think a lot of it has to do with I guess you would say uh, like natural things like lust, ego, desire, greed. The seven deadly sins kind of thing.
mm,
There's aspects in all of us that feed on those evil instincts of ours. What I classify as the evil. Excuse me. And then we're always trying to be good. We're always trying to do better for each other, for ourselves, whatever the motivation is. And through that, we're always asking questions. We're always trying to figure out, where in this game that we're playing, is the path that we should take to be the best person. And the measurement of that is what really makes the difference as people grow up. I feel like if you're taught as a kid that the only way to achieve happiness is to say get out of the ghetto, then that's all you're going to try and do. But if
mm,
the same person in the ghetto is taught, no, the only way you could be happy is to better yourself here and make as much money here, then you're not going to try and get out of the ghetto. You're going to try and maybe build up that community and, turn it into something better,
Mm,
so for, coming from my background, relatively poor. I mean, we didn't come from the gutters, but we came from, the lowest working class in society. Um,
mm,
but my parents, at least when I was born, were working like fast food and in warehouses and stuff. So like I didn't come from any kind of money. Um, those were the types of friends that I grew up with. People either thinking that, oh, I just got to get a job and feed my family. I'm stuck. I'm not going anywhere. Or the types that are like, I got to leave this place. I can't stay in this city. I gotta. The only way to do better is to find a better place. And then there's people like me who, I've been in this town for over 30 years now. A couple times I moved away, but always ended up coming back. And I feel like the only way to make my situation better is to make my surroundings better, contribute to the community, um,
yeah.
support the people in my life. And the only way to live true to that for me is to not be convoluted in my thoughts, not be counterintuitive in what I practicing and what I preach. Positivity. I'm always trying to find the silver lining in everything, and stick to that. Acknowledge the bad, but work forward for the good. Mindset is what I try and maintain. And it sucks that a lot of people like to, you know, the as you were saying, be quote unquote woke, act like, oh,
Mm,
they know the best, but then they turn around and do otherwise.
yeah, absolutely. I had this conversation actually a couple of days ago with someone who we were talking about a similar concept, and he said that he felt a little bit, and I think this is something that I've noticed recently, is when you go through the evolution of consciousness, but when you're not balanced in a certain, and I'm going to go down into like talking about chakra balancing, and when you're not balanced in terms of like, there are stages to a conscious evolution, and when if you're not grounding yourself properly, you can operate from an ego consciousness, as I mentioned before, and it can make you feel almost godlike, if that makes sense. It can make you sort of perceive yourself as superior. And I would refer to like Jesus Christ, for example. Jesus would never present himself as someone who was superior to mankind. He always said to everyone, what I can do, you can do. We are in communion. This is about our understanding like who we are as children of God, and it's about oneness, right? As opposed to sort of making everyone else a little bit. It is that God complex that you can. It's quite dangerous when you're sort of when your third eye is kind of takes over. Then it can easily manifest into this godlike kind of it can be very damaging to yourself and to other people. So, and for the actual purpose of spiritual awakening. um and as you said about like greed and stuff, there's a fine line as well with people. Like I do believe, and I think we touched on this subject about money earlier, like I do believe that if you're going down the path of spiritual awakening and consciousness, you can create and generate wealth. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that if you feel like it's going to benefit a greater higher cause. Because we live in a world, we live in a dichotomy, we live in a in this relative, there's rich and there's poor, there's good and there's bad. And okay, money apparently has to exist in this realm, in this physical reality. But I don't understand who people who are woke, as you said, quote unquote woke, um, don't use that in the sense of the whole reason. Like, it's if it's an energy, and this may you may disagree with this, but if money is a source of energy, um why are we not using it for to better and to to get us to the next stage of conscious evolution, rather than for greed and for the lifestyle that's going against the whole reason of spiritual awakening, because we're not attached to physical objects, and we shouldn't be identifying ourselves as, how we're living our lifestyle in that sense. So materialistic lifestyle. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. When people attach their identity to the materialistic world, it's really easy to lose yourself because there's always the next best thing that's going to come out. Shoes,
Mm,
iPhone, whatever the next celebrity is wearing, or purses, haircuts. Whenever it comes to attachment to physical things, or materialistic things, it's I feel like people lose themselves, because they are not them. They are what they're wearing. They are what they have. Because as soon as you take it away from him, it becomes real apparent that they start when they do freak out, when they do like start having breakdowns and stuff because they can't have the next iPhone. They weren't able to get this certain shoes or anything. Um,
mm,
it's a loss of self, and that is what when you hear the stories of people that are insanely rich but the most depressed people on earth, is because they have no attachment to the self or to other humans on the level of
mm,
of the self. You, people don't know who they are when all they do is spend their time and energy chasing labels, chasing
mm,
brands, chasing whatever, so the material. um, it sucks because it leads back to the money. No matter how these people that are putting themselves in distress, no matter how they make their money, the people making the money, that the big brands don't turn around and tell their people, hey, you don't really need this. Instead they're like, no, okay, well, you really want it, it's going to be $500. Next time it'll be $600. Next time it'll be 1,000. Next time it'll be 50.
mm,
And now shoes are like $3,000. I I mean, I own some really nice leather shoes that I made and paid like $200 for, but not 3,000,
mm.
not 5,000
Yeah.
for a pair of Jordans or whatever. And there's people who can't live without it, who work
Mm,
just as hard as I do to spend money on a piece of or pair of shoes they may wear once or twice, and then put on the shelf, because if they scuff the shoes, or if they bend the shoes or put a crease in them, it's all over. They're no longer worth that money. And
mm.
when you take away the value, the idea of the value of money, that's when it starts to become destructive as a currency. Because currency innate itself is not destructive. Before,
Yeah.
when you could buy a house for $50,000, that's when money was like, it made sense. Now, at least here in California, most houses are not under 300,000,
Mm,
which is really insane, even for like the poorest cities. And I live in a pretty small city. I'm not like in San Francisco or LA, where over there a houses, you won't get a house unless you have $2 million to spend. Eat
right.
like flat out. Um, and even then, it's all just the idea of what the property is worth. It's not that the physical structure, the wood, the electrical, any of that, none of that's worth
Right.
$200 million or $2 million. I'm sorry. um, and so when you attach the idea of worth to something that is not of that value, you, it creates confusion. it's really easy to lose yourself when you don't understand that. Me, for instance, I strongly believe in less is more, because the more you have, the more you have to worry about, and
Mm.
especially when the more you have of things that are overvalued, then you're kind of putting yourself in debt. You know, you're work, you spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, and time is money realistically. um,
Yeah.
you're wasting your time on things that are not worth what your time. Your time is the most
Yeah.
valuable thing in the world. Because if, even after this conversation, if I go out, drive my car, and that's it, that's game over for me, then how did I spend the money that was my time? How did
Right.
that's what people don't do anymore. They don't think about it that way. Before, that's how it was thought. Before the 40-hour work week, you know, people would work every single day just a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
and it was better because people knew, like, okay, you go put in 5-6 hours a day working, you come home, bring home what you made that day, and then, you know, do it again the next day, do it again the next day. It wasn't until the 40-hour work week where it was like, okay, you know, you work for 2 weeks, or a week or 2 weeks, and then you get the accumulated amount. And it's like, okay, now I'm working for the weekend, just like the song says, everybody's working for the weekend.
Yeah.
Devalues time. You know, you think that, okay, I got to put in a certain amount of days before I get paid. And that's why, you know, people who do escape the 40-hour work week, start their own businesses, tend to be happier, because
Yeah.
when you're in charge of your own time, when you're in charge of your income, and you're able, at least for those who are making an honest living, or in their eyes an honest living, they're not getting over on people, they're not being, you know, we I don't know if you know what grimy means, but essentially taking advantage of others. You're not being sleazy or
Manipulative. Yeah.
manipulative, yeah, in your practices, then, you know, you could usually go home and sleep well. You go home and, you know, go home, go to bed at the time that you want, wake up at the time you want, and live the life that you want.
Not sell your soul. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. You know, other people, I mean, even if you don't own your own businesses, there's people that, you know, and a lot of it are salesmen, you know, will sit there and lie to people to make money,
Mm.
get their money for a company that they don't own, just so they can make their check at the end of the week, or at the end of the month, or whatever it is. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's the consumerism culture that has completely taken, as you said, rightly said about time. I mean, your whole life just goes before you, and you've chased, you can't take the money and the wealth to, you can't take that materialistic wealth to the grave.
no, and you can't
Um
trade it back for time either.
no, exactly. And I think this, we're in a very interesting time where, um it's funny because I think with the whole, with everything that's happened with coronavirus, has kind of happened at a time when entrepreneurship was really starting to become achievable, especially for people in our generation, and traveling and being able
I'm
to
still listening. Go ahead.
yeah, and to be able to explore Mother Earth and explore their spirituality. We had the capacity to do that, whereas before, the generations before us were in survival mode. um and that's where a lot of our sort of generational trauma has kind of been. We're in an amazing time. We are an amazing time where we're starting to wake up to the value of time, and the importance of time, and what our soul actually is yearning for,
Mm-hmm.
here. And I think that in a utopia, we wouldn't be working like this for, because of consumerism. We've our perception of money is so distorted. But in a utopia, we would perhaps maybe do what we need to do to contribute. We don't own anything here. We don't own land. And
Mm-hmm.
this idea of even owning land, it's such it just shows how primitive we are in our evolution of understanding that we don't own anything physically, anything here.
No.
But we can contribute to, to, and even sharing, like having trades,
Mm-hmm.
trading, living, like growing our own food, helping each other, trading for if your neighbor is lacking in something, or it's about communion. And I think that is this and it's interesting, and I think we touched upon this before, you and I, about divide and conquer, and this and it just greed and money has become this form of, it's almost like a tool um to create that perpetual cycle of scarcity. Whether you're on the lower end of the spectrum or whether you are well off, but it's another way of dividing us. And I don't want to be negative about it, because I know that there are many things that you can do with money, which is amazing, and beneficial. But in the society that we're living in, it's not used for that. And I think it's amazing that you've come from a relatively poor, or like not well off background, or not affluent background, and you're not resentful about it. And you've sort of, because you can easily become resentful and just sort of be stuck in that loop of being bitter, and not actually having critical thinking about what is money, like what are we doing with money, like why. And I think that's the thing, is the critical thinking that is lacking so much here, because we let people run the show. We let people dictate so much of our existence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, because yeah, and I think, as you said, giving back and just communion, it's about communion. And I think that it goes against everything that's being perpetuated in society, which is very much power and greed and segregation and divide. Even just with American politics, or politics in general, it's so divisive. So much of it is divisive, and I just it's, yeah. And my only hope is people, souls like you and I, and others. There are many others who are really really starting to open these dialogues and open these conversations to bring more, to wake people up, and even challenge those who, as you said, who are quote unquote woke. Because like it's easy to be misinformed, but the soul doesn't lie. So I think if we speak from the heart, it's the truth. Like it's just we know that it comes from a place um of spirit,
Honesty.
honesty. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I
um
agree. I want to touch back on what you said about community and communion behavior, or communal behavior. It it works. When people talk, or okay, so here in America, the big scare right now is that anybody who is left of center is somebody who wants to be a socialist and or communist, and
right.
that's the big scare, right? We have all these examples in Europe and Asia why communism wasn't good, socialism wasn't good,
Right.
but there are mechanisms now, that people are advocating as the solution to why those did not work in the first place. You have someone like, or let's just, I'm not even going to names, countries like old Germany and old Russia, right? The Soviet Union, and a full on communist dictatorship with old Germany, and the reason those um, regimes got into place was because of money in the first place, scarcity, right? Drummed up by political officials who were in charge of distribution of goods and services, um, the collapse of the banking systems, and then
Mm.
somebody who said that they were going to fix it all. You know, whether it was Hitler or Stalin, somebody came in and said, "I got this. Don't trip." And everybody was like, "Okay, let's do it your way," and then it failed. Now, accountability. Excuse me. Accountability is one of the things that is throughout history uh, something that cannot be enforced because there's always some sort of hierarchy, some sort of chain of command, and most of the time it's what the guy above you says goes for everybody down below. There's no questioning, there's no voting, there's no democracy, no
Mm-hmm.
democratic process at all. Um, Now with the American experiment of democracy, or at least our version, because I know there's democracy all over the globe, just different forms, right? With our form in our day, I think, and I hope this isn't taken in the wrong light because I'm just a guy thinking, right? That communism and socialism already having certain systems and programs that are ingrained in American society, like police officers, the firefighters, garbage, medical. We have programs that are socialist programs, communist programs. We just don't talk about them in that manner. They like to call them entitlements in the media and in our government.
Mm.
Um, we are with them already being installed. I think with the internet and at the advancement to the degree of which we have today in terms of being able to use algorithms to oversee and manage everything from transactions to like all the stuff they're doing with social media. They're able to track like just even down to your scrolling habits, right?
Yeah.
So if we could use those types of ideas and management tools to enforce accountability at all levels of government, then you don't necessarily have to have secrecy. You don't necessarily have to have divide and conquer. If everybody knows
Yes.
what's going on, then we can have something like Medicare for all, which is a huge
Mm.
topic. Medicare for all, they're saying that, oh, the current system is so corrupt that if we were to just give the money to the government and have the government pay the doctors, then it's going to be even more money lost, more money being misused, more money, slipping through the cracks, going into pockets, people paying more for, in the military, there's a joke about the $5,000 hammer or the $10,000 hammer. It's when certain organizations and public entities are given a budget. If you don't spend it, you don't get it in the next quarter or the next year, the fiscal year. Whenever the budget turns over, if you didn't spend it last time, you may not get it next time, or you may get less next time because you didn't need it last. So
Right.
this is where waste comes into to play, when dirty money comes into play, when negligible activity comes into play. And I think that if we were to use technology in an accountability manner, we could have systems that are communal systems that are for society that'll benefit everybody, that don't need to be making somebody rich. Money could just be circulating. If money circulates, then
Yes.
everybody eats, everybody pays. If everybody's getting
Absolutely.
paid at every level a fair amount, and there's no incentives other than do your job and you'll get paid, then um, you know I think we'd have not only an increase of quality in services, but a more rapid turnaround in those services like medical care. And that would be a step of taking greed out of the equation. But as long as you have systems of hierarchy that are dependent on a chain of money, where you have um, like insurance lobbyists who could go into Congress and say, "Oh no, you cannot make these rules because we are already making money this way, and if you were to make a rule, then we couldn't make money that way." Um, then it's not for the people. That system
Right.
of healthcare is already tainted. It's already been poisoned, and like the only way to change something like that is to be uprooted from the bottom, which is the root of evil is money. So the bottom is the money. Change the distribution and the management tools for the money, and it can be done. Now, I'm not saying I'm smart enough to write those algorithms, you know, but I could at least imagine that doing something in that manner is is something that can be
Already,
done now
it would
versus the
exist
past.
in, yeah. And
Yeah.
it would I mean, if we have the tools available to for a artificial intelligence, we would have the tools to be able to but I was going to also just touch upon the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's an even bigger question of the fact that a lot of what we don't realize goes on or is being sold to us as beneficial for our health is quite, it's almost, it's, there's a lot that we aren't aware of, the fact that healthcare is almost a business in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of real holistic uh, naturopathic healthcare is deliberately taken away from mainstream media, and a lot of
Are
things
you
are
talking
designed
about?
in.
Are you talking in terms of how people handle their own healthcare?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. And I just think that healthcare is in itself a bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's I don't want to be dogmatic about it, and there is obviously great. There's been amazing work that's done in healthcare to advance, you know, healthcare. But healthcare in itself is, I'm just, it's under a lot of um, you know, it's very, it's very business orientated now. I'm not sure if it's been like this for, you know, I mean, as for as long as I've been alive. We're sold prescription pills and medicine to basic, and we're fed, you know, complete bullshit basically, about how to take care of our health. And you know, whatever your take is on coronavirus and what's been happening, um the even just the basic fundamental understanding of how to take care of your health on a cellular level has never ever been something that healthcare has ever promoted ever.
Yeah, that's
But
the
the
big,
only thing
big
that
thing with
we,
Corona is nobody's talking about yeah, your own immune system and how to boost your immune system
you're
to be
exactly
healthy. No, they're like just go
right.
hide. Go hide.
Exactly. And this is not about taking side. This is not about, you know, like, you know, we started this conversation because there was that meme about replacing your immune system.
Yeah,
It's not about, we don't need to go to one extreme or the other and be, you know, like sort of go like say there's a bigger question here. It's not even about masks and gloves.
yeah.
There's a much deeper question, which is, why are we not, why has this even happened in the first place? Why do we not understand as human, given how advanced we are, why do we not even understand how to take care of our health?
Mhm.
um why is coronavirus even here? You know, it, there's so many
A lot
bigger
of
questions.
a lot of the mainstream talking points about it are a just as you said, it's this or that, not this and
Exactly,
that. Well, you know,
exactly.
we could do the mask, the gloves, the social distancing, and eat really good. Go out for walks. We're not going to lock anybody.
Right.
Drink plenty of water. You know, wash your hands all the time, and you know
Exactly.
that's
And
how we
since
could have
when
stated it
was,
a year ago.
exactly that? And since when, I mean, since when, coming back to you know, I mean, in the UK we don't pay for health insurance, but I know in America you guys do. But since when since when was health something you have to have money for access to? If we truly cared about our
70s.
health, it's our birthright. It's our birthright to have, to be living in vitality, to be well, to serve each other, to serve, you know, you know,
Yeah.
for us to evolve. It is not something that we should have to work like a dog in order to create wealth, that you can have access to supreme health, which is questionable in the first place because, you know, so many diseases and all of this stuff has been like, you know, who like, we were not born, we were born to heal. Our bodies are healing, naturally healing.
Hmm.
And where there is disease, there's always a question of why it's there in the first place. Obviously, and I'm not, again, I'm not generalizing all health issues. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
mean a lot of modern day, issues when it comes to health.
Hmm.
So, and and things like herbs and things that are illegal now, that are actually extremely beneficial for our conscious evolution and just evolution in general, is seen as illegal and unaccessible.
Yeah.
um so yeah, it's
No,
it's
no, you're right. Something you just said is that we're born, or at least, and this isn't to put down anybody or forget about anybody who
mm,
isn't born fully healthy, with any ailment or anything like
yes,
that, right? But I mean, to the degree that when you're born here, you're as healthy as you were born. If we can't make
right,
you better from that point, then you know at least the society should be moving towards keeping you as healthy as you are, right? At least
exactly,
maintain that, right? Your starting
exactly.
level. If we were in a society that didn't have substances of consumption that take more than they give, then I think it'd be a lot easier achieved. But we have, at least up until about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, we had soda vending machines in schools. Instead of giving kids really good options like good juices, not sugar filled juices, but like
mm,
good juice, good water, maybe tea. Even coffee isn't necessarily bad at low amounts
yeah,
for kids, in colleges even. But no, we offer them soda, energy drinks, things like high C punch and stuff like that. Just high fructose corn syrup at every turn.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then
From a young age.
from a young age, we're really destructive in what we're giving kids to grow with.
Exactly.
And as
That's deep programming. Like this is deep. These addictions, even like addiction doesn't have to be as extreme as a lot of people perceive as addiction. Addiction is, if you're exposed to addictive substances such as sugar,
sugar,
um
that's a
exactly,
good
like
point.
from a young age, yet you take away things that can be actually beneficial, like certain herbs. It just it yeah it makes no sense. There's absolutely nothing beneficial with sugar, with refined sugar. There's absolutely nothing. It's
no,
extremely destroying for
no
your health.
nutritional value.
No nutritional value at all. So the question arises is, why is that? Why are we so switched off to the point where we don't question these things?
Because somebody's
Precisely
getting
that.
rich. Because somebody's getting.
Exactly. And we don't question that
Mhm.
when we are so money oriented because somebody's getting rich. You don't question why people are buying stocks with Pfizer. And I don't mean to go into who the companies that are producing these vaccines and stuff, but
But it's
people.
public talk right now. Everybody
Exactly.
knows
And
that
it comes to
Pfizer,
health.
Moderna, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Like, people are buying shares, and there's so much, there's just, you just, people don't, I mean, I know people are questioning, but they'd rather just get on with their day a lot of the times, which is fair enough. But I think that I don't think that it's possible now, with the internet is undefeated. You cannot hide these things any longer from the people.
Right. It's just
So yeah.
kind of and I did it earlier too, but just now you said I don't want to mention names. Money and legalities have turned corporations into boogeymen. We're
Right.
treating them like Voldemort. Like, I'm not saying any names, but we know
Yeah,
who we're talking
true.
about. You know,
True.
it,
Yeah,
it sucks. It really sucks
that's
because
true.
then again, you can't hold these. people, these entities, these organizations
Accountable.
accountable. You can't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're right.
You know, as long as we fear them more than the masses, more than the greater good,
Mm,
when they don't fear us, they know that they have us. You know, they have us by the throat, and they're shoving
yeah.
pills down our throat, or injecting us, basically with a syringe of corn syrup. You know,
Right.
it sucks. We right now we are the sheep. Right now we are the cow, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And then, not to go too far away from talking about medical care and stuff right now, but we're so much the cattle that the next form of money is what we see in data, right? Advertising data and stuff. We're being taken advantage by everything that they're monitoring on our phones through social media and everything. That companies are now buying, they're buying our information from information collectors. So,
Yep.
it's crazy when or now that we've gotten to 2020, on the verge of 21, and the world is at a tipping point where money's going to either outright win and people lose, or people could change the systems now with the new technologies of computers. Computers have only been around for 30, like almost 40 years now, and we're at a pinnacle tipping point. We need to change the system, to reflect the future, to benefit humanity first. I'm a huge fan and advocate for Andrew Yang and pretty much everything that he talks about. There has been a couple things that
Mm,
if I didn't disagree with him, I just probably had a different opinion than him. Um, but we're in the fourth or fifth, depending on how you look at it, industrial revolution, where we're 20, 30 years away from like an iRobot type situation,
right.
that Will Smith movie, where we have
Yes.
robots that can think like a human. Even
Yeah.
in that movie,
AI.
it was just
Yes.
the one. What if that one human or human thinking robot is able to just inject a piece of his capabilities into another robot, and then boom, 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 jumps down, and now there's an army of them. You
Hmm.
know, it's crazy. It's crazy what the
Yep.
real life potentials are. And I listen to people like Michio Kaku and Elon Musk and a whole lot of other scientists. I'm a big fan of like the Lex Friedman podcast, and he has a lot of AI people and tech people on. And I mean, they say some really scary shit if you think about all of it at once. You know,
Mm,
and when it comes down to just the basic idea of, can we take care of each other very well or not?
yeah.
Very simple. Can we take care of each other very well? Yes or no? No, we can't. We can if we implement the systems that we've talked about. If we start using things, tech to benefit us and not to take our place. Um, have you heard of Neuralink?
No.
So Neuralink is Elon Musk's like fourth or fifth or sixth company, but it's about he's creating a way to basically he's creating the Borg. I don't know if you know that reference. Um, Basically, turn us into cyborgs by
Right.
by connecting computer chips and I guess they're neurotransmitters, probes into the brain,
Yes.
so you could
Yeah.
merge with computers and tech and stuff. In the beginning steps, it's using the mind or the chip in interfaces with the mind to control prosthetics, as well as repair things like the eye, hearing, and other senses. But then from there, it goes into using then the mind to type on a computer. Then once you
Right.
do that, it speeds up your own brain's capacity to think. So if you could think without using calories, but instead using a battery, then
Wow.
with the cognitive power of having extra gigabytes of RAM or terabytes of RAM, depending on how advanced the tech gets, you could be solving unimaginable calculations in a matter of seconds or minutes that would take, easily hundreds of years from now if we started now with just a human brain. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Have
insane.
you
Black
seen
Mirror
Black
is like
Mirror?
less than 10 years away because he's
This, I mean,
building it.
so the thing is I mean, we're going into they say that the I mean, I truly think that this is something that we should maybe talk about. Is the government, or the
The
world
powers.
leaders, the powers, however you want to call it, um they've for as long as they've been operating this way, they've had technological advancements beyond our understanding.
Yeah, the public gets it
For
like
I
10 years
mean,
later.
exactly. I mean, if you've seen some of the videos of like Pink Floyd,
Love Pink
you
Floyd.
know, right, and like, the drones that weren't even around
Mhm.
during the times that they were released. And there's a lot that goes on that we're not obviously exposed to,
Mhm.
and also we are not privy to, and I'm going this is going to
No, it's
even
all good. Yeah,
this is going down to I mean, Antarctica and extraterrestrial beings and things, which is probably a whole other topic. But it's things like
for
that
real.
that we're just not. We're not that we're not, and there are plans. There's that these plans have been put into place for way before people really understand. So um I don't know if you've heard of Black Mirror, but there are so many, yeah, that's I mean, there are so many little things that we sort of we think that it's so far-fetched, but it's programming. It's deep programming to sort of make you think that it kind of exposes you to what could be, but you think that we would never go to in this direction of, like, for example, iRobot, or these kind of almost dystopian, yeah,
human interface mechanisms, things like
yes,
that.
exactly. And yet we don't see how things unravel that way. We're not, it's so like, it's almost like, oh, well, you can accept it because you've sort of been exposed to, it's like a slow acceptance of this will be the new reality.
Yeah,
But how dare you tell me what I can and cannot put into my body?
yeah,
We are entitled to as we are to our sovereign. This is going beyond human, I believe, of my birthright and your birthright, and human rights is what you tell me to put into my body is, you know and to, even,
it's
and for
irrelevant,
the
right?
benefit,
It's irrelevant. It doesn't
it's
matter.
irrelevant.
Yeah,
It doesn't, you can't turn us into robots and or whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that it will, but I'm just saying that it starts from there, doesn't it? It starts from not having the choice, and it starts from something as quote unquote seamless as a vaccine, for example, and then
so
what's next?
to make a point on that, right? You say that they want to be that the powers are trying to be manipulative to the point that they're telling us what, not only what we cannot put in our body, but mandate what needs to be put in our body, right? You mentioned Black Mirror, which, shout out to those folks, killing
Right,
it on the show. Keep it going.
right.
Um, they did that episode where there was this girl trying to get to a wedding, her one of her old school friends' weddings, and she kept getting set back because at every point somebody like hit thumbs down on her, and it fucked up her social credit score.
Yes,
Remember that one? And she couldn't rent a
yes,
car, she couldn't get on the plane.
yes.
Hella shit, and she
Oh,
went
look what's
from
happening
a
now.
750 credit score to like a 200 or some shit
Right.
in one
And
evening.
that's how they operate in China, isn't it?
They
They have
already
a
have it.
credit score.
They
Right.
already have it, and so it's like there's so many other episodes that are far more scary, like the one with the robot dog,
Yes, the
right?
dog. Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh,
and then you
so
got
scary.
AI tech where that guy, the Star Trek style,
Surveillance. Yes.
uh, it's
Oh,
insane. It's
it's
insane.
insane.
Um, you there's so power is a drug as well, right? Being that what we categorize as drugs is mind altering substances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Power alters the mind. Because if I sat here and had no power, I probably wouldn't have the courage to have this conversation. The
Right.
same as you. I'm sure if you didn't feel like your voice had power, you wouldn't waste your time.
Right.
It's the acknowledgement that we do, even as one little voice, saying the words, having this conversation, and if enough people or the right person hears it, it'll turn to another conversation and eventually
Right.
ripple effect to make change, right? So when you have the power to uh, be dictatorial about, you know, oh, you can't come into this Starbucks because this is a 5-star Starbucks and you only have
Right.
4.3 stars. You got to go to that 4.3 Starbucks.
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
you can't rent our cars. You got to go down to the bargain rent a car.
Right.
It's becomes classism. It becomes like hierarchical in society, which
Yeah.
hierarchies is like that's like from money comes classes, and classes are hierarchies. They're one and the same, just could be used different in conversation, but they're essentially the same thing. When you
Mm-hmm.
have a subset of society that is homeless, or I'm sorry, so you have, like, for instance, the homeless, right? General
Mm.
the homeless. That's a
Yeah.
class of society. But then you have
Yep.
subsets within the homeless. You have people that are homeless because of in the 80s when they changed. It was either the 70s or the 80s. I'm kind of rough on timelines, but they stopped making mental health facilities public, or provided by public means. So they decommissioned a lot of psych wards and stuff like that, which was good because they were doing experiments on people at most of these places. But it was bad because then all the people who were in psychiatric wards or otherwise would be able to get medical care, mental medical care, are now living on the street, with, they call them, oh, just crazy old homeless person. Well, people like to label, and it's easy to disregard when you label. And
Yeah.
that's just a small subset of the homeless. Then you have people who are homeless due to financial means. They lost their business, let's say in 2008 when the last crash in America happened. We talked about that one too, right? It was right
Mm.
when I was out of high school. Shitload of people lost their house then. Right now,
Yeah.
in Corona, the Corona collapse that's about to happen at the end of this month, when
Yep.
America's, because not every country's doing this, but at least in America, there's a rent and mortgage eviction moratorium. So you can't kick anybody out. Nobody's getting kicked out, but that moratorium mandate is up at the end of this month. So come January, unless something changes, unless something is done before then, which I doubt, people are going to get kicked out of their homes if they haven't been paying their bills. If they owe money on their mortgage, the bank's going to take it. If they owe money to their landlord, and their landlord isn't going to lose their house because of it either, they're getting kicked out unless you have the 10 years
Mm.
back for the last 10 months or however much you're paying. People are paying, at least in this city. Uh, there's people paying like $2,000 for an apartment, and so that's the last 10 months. If you have 20 grand just lying around to pay off your rent, then you might be able to keep your place. But most people aren't, or not most people, but a lot of people aren't. There's a good number, and especially in places, high density areas, with high cost of livings like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, LA. Um, a lot of people are either leaving because they know that they're not going to pay those bills, or going homeless. And financial means of
Mm.
going homeless doesn't mean you're crazy, doesn't mean you're on drugs. It means you cannot live. You cannot pay to live.
You're at the mercy of The financial system. Yeah.
Yeah, and the power structure who
Yeah.
creates the rules to help people, public assistance programs. They're like, no, he fucked up. That's on him. you know,
Exactly. I
back
was
that
I
up.
was actually I had this I was literally thinking about this the other day about there's a difference between empowering people and impoverishing them.
Right,
You can put food in someone's mouth and say that you're helping them, but you're milking the act of helping them when really that person is at your mercy, right?
right,
So
right.
you take that food away from them, they starve.
Mm. They
Empowering
didn't make any
people
progress in creating that food source for themselves.
for
It
exactly
was a
empowering
volunteer initiative,
people
right?
exactly that.
Mm.
And that's this is what leadership, this is why we don't understand true leadership, is this is not how you empower. This is obviously there's a different agenda here entirely,
Mm.
but empowering people means giving them the tools to be able to create a life for themselves and not depend on anyone or anything or higher powers, etc.
Mhm.
And you're not at the mercy of a small proportion of the rest of the world who are you can literally put them in a room,
Mhm.
um like that is how small of like the number of people who are actually able to dictate the rest of the world and the conditions that people are living in.
Mhm.
um and it just absolutely it's so heartbreaking to even to think that people are at the mercy that their own livelihood. And it it's pretty scary. And I just don't, I mean, it's this is the whole new, I mean, they say obviously the new world order, and I don't know, I don't know, I mean, I've heard about a basic minimum wage being something now that will be the alternative, the alternative way of making money, but then there's
Basic minimum
obviously a
wage,
price to pay.
or do you mean a universal basic income?
Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, you're right. A universal, but I don't. I mean, I'm not sure if this is if this will actually happen. But the consequences to this transition, and why that's even happening, and why this is happening in the first place, you know, they say if you want to know how what the rest of the world is looking to, what trajectory the world is going into, just look at China. Um, and
If
yeah, I
if we don't make the change, yes, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. If we don't have conversations like this, yes, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, how are you going to how and it like to see people go homeless now? It just we've come so far, and to now see this, it's just you know, yeah. I
Sad.
don't.
It's sad. You know,
It's very sad.
it,
Very very sad.
it's honestly, it's sad. It sucks. Um, People work really hard. You know,
Exactly.
when people learn the value of hard work and building things, like for instance, I'm the construction company that I'm at. It's technically a startup, but like I mean, we got a ton of business. We're doing great. Um, it's the effort of individuals trying to make something work. So we all show up every day motivated. We all show up every day with the intentions of doing, making a little bit of progress every single day, no matter what the measure of it. And you're going to get that everywhere if everybody feels comfortable at home, if everybody feels healthy, if everybody feels encouraged to do so.
Yeah.
And right now, with
Yeah.
the divide and conquer, in all manners, both political,
Yeah.
social, religious, ideological. So much division going on, mostly perpetuated by the media, but we won't go that direction right now.
Yeah.
People are always going to put in effort, to work, to do something,
Yeah.
which is why I feel like so. You mentioned universal basic income. Right now in America, we're like half the country is fighting for that shit on both sides
Right.
of the argument because even in like red states, factories are shutting down. and people can't live. People can't buy groceries. It's bad. It's really bad. But if they had a universal basic income,
Mm.
just enough to get by, then the little bit of money that they are potentially making would be the extra. And who
Mm.
doesn't want more? It's like, yeah, I could
Yeah.
have a house, but if I have nothing in it, then I'm not living good. You know,
Right.
but if I am insured, dividends of America's success, then you know everything that I'm working for actually builds my life forward. America is maintaining that I have a house. America, the collective efforts, the fruits of the collective efforts of the country are going to pay for us to be able to get by. It's going to provide the means of survival. So then
Right.
survival is off the table once every single, eventually people on Earth, but I can only talk about my team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
if in America at the very least, and even if in London, if you guys were to adopt some type of, or England, I should say, I don't exactly know how it all works. With England versus the UK and with Brexit going on, which you're gonna have to
Mm.
teach me everything because I don't know shit. uh,
Yeah.
but in terms of America, if we were to adopt that type of policy and survival wasn't on the table of the average American's consideration financially, then we would be looking at, okay, well, what can I add to my house? How can I increase the value of my home or the value of my assets? Can I buy another home? Can I turn that into a rental unit for people to rent in order to save money to buy their own home and then rent to the next person? Everything
Mm.
everything has to be passed along. Those that build need to pass along the pathway to, for the next person to build. The trails to the west were laid by the person before.
Right.
The only after a certain time, people didn't need to have maps to get to the west coast of America because the trails were laid out by the convoy before. You know, and it's that type of mentality that, if we pave the way, the person behind us will have it easier, and you cannot hold resentment for them having it easier, because that a lot
Yes.
is a lot of the time what is
That's so
causing
true.
resistance. There's a lot of resistance, especially in Congress and shit like that, because they're like, well, why should they have it easier? I had it X hard.
Yeah.
I had it this
Yes.
hard. Why should they have it this hard? Well, it's because we did all this work. Now that we did
Yes.
this work, eliminate it and let people succeed here. And then once this
Yes.
work is set up, then people can succeed down here. You know,
Yeah.
the measurement of success shouldn't be based on the amount of effort put in, but the value
The outcome.
of
Yeah.
the outcome, right? The value of the outcome,
That
and
is so true. So, so true.
social change won't happen as long as we attack that. We need to create understanding. We need to share and just like this, share our ideas of understanding that, yeah, you went through all that, and that's why you're strong. That's why you are who you are. But you cannot measure another person by your stick. You know, not.
Yes.
I was told a long time ago that not everybody has the same bottom, and it was I'll admit it. I was talking shit on that Drake song started from the bottom. When I was watching him
Mhm.
on TV as a kid, playing Nickelodeon shows, like his bottom wasn't my bottom, so I was talking shit.
Yeah.
But not everybody has the same bottom. Now he is
Yeah.
top 5, top 10, whatever it is, rappers, artists, hip hop artists, whatever he calls himself. He's up there. He's
Yeah.
on top. So
Mm.
it was wrong back then for me to give him shit, but that's the reality of it. You can't measure anybody by your stick. You could only help to make their path easier. That's it.
It's absolutely true, and I think that's why I said that I'm very grateful, and I commend you for not being bitter, because it takes true maturity, and for like you're not you got two wrongs don't make a right. At the end of the day, in order to actually be able to, you know accepting and evolving is it's not like it's not, you've chosen, I believe that we've chosen this lifetime, and you kind of, like for example, people who go from rags to riches,
Hmm.
you can't, it's all about, character, I think. It's very easy to sort of sit there and be resentful and not do it, because it just disempowers you, and it disempowers the generations below us. If
Yeah,
you truly, if you I'm
slow progression.
okay. Right. And
Hmm.
I had this conversation the other day as well with someone, because they felt so demoralized with what was going on. And I said, even if we are here because we are helping the next generation, then so be it. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to raise these questions, to have these conversations like you and I are doing. And for example, like the generation after you will not have the kind of the kind of struggle that perhaps you had growing up. And isn't that an amazing thing? Isn't that a beautiful thing? And I just think, like, I think that it's very disempowering to feel like, well, and it can be as intrinsic as family dynamic, not even just in society, like in family, in family dynamics, where there's a lot of like animosity with like the generation above, because they had such a hard time.
Hmm.
And they have this like weird, like this weird attitude with people who quote unquote have it easy. And it's like, well, no, it's a different way of, it's a different form of challenges, and we shouldn't be stuck in a place of survival mode. We should be pushing for us to be able to live where we're not in survival mode all the time. And everyone has the right to do that. Everyone has the right to ask why they are here.
Hmm.
Why are they even here in the first place? Why are we here? We're not here to just work and die, like, and pay bills and just die. Like, we're not, that's not, and I
Bills
just,
and die.
right, like,
That
it's,
that's the plague right now. That's the real plague. Is, we could be doing things. We could be paying bills and living, honestly,
yes,
but we're not. Like,
exactly.
if we had structures that were communistic, right, in their root, they're for the community, they're socialist, they're for society, um, in a manner that everybody would be willing to I'm sorry, participate. um,
Yeah, yeah.
then it could be done, but it's sold. It's not sold in a narrative that people are accepting of. When you have
Mm,
the media doing everything they can to just create sides, because sides create passion. Just like in soccer, like the biggest
mm,
example. You have
yeah,
fans that are stupid diehard, like
yeah, yeah,
crazy diehard, and I love
yeah,
sports. I do. I love
yeah,
competition. I'm a
yeah,
video gamer. I love competition.
yeah,
So I know where they're coming from, and I know where that passion comes from.
yeah,
But they like fight. They go to war.
right.
Fans do for the teams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It,
That
it
is true.
when you have power structures that have enough power to where they own the media and keep us separated from each other in order to prevent progression. It's not
Yeah,
until we acknowledge it and reject it,
absolutely.
altogether, which is happening, you know.
It is.
Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I hate that we're pretty much only going back to American politics, but our everybody's favorite tweeter, Trump.
Yeah,
The one thing that I found as a positive impact he had is creating conversation.
exactly.
Up um, until he came about and started calling out the media for being fake, which I
Yes.
think if he wasn't such a soundbite thinker, which he thinks in
Yeah.
sound bites that everybody wants to repeat, right?
Yes.
If he wasn't a soundbite thinker, if he was more of an eloquent speaker, somebody who could actually
Mhm.
think of things more, he probably thinks really deeply, but at
So,
least
for example, if
Mhm.
Obama had a very similar, do you know
Yes,
what I mean?
yes.
Like, if it was come, I know exactly what you're saying. It's almost, but I find that almost a bit strange. Like, why?
Mhm.
It's almost as if like he was kind of anointed in that position, because why like it doesn't quite make sense as to, like, this whole just it's just almost seems almost like it, there's something else there.
I'm
There's
sorry.
another.
Who Obama anointed or Trump?
No, a Trump with
So
Trump,
okay,
like.
so no, Trump. If anything, Obama was anointed, and I'll go
Mm.
back to that. But with Trump, the reason I say he was not is because his narrative, or not his narrative, but his running points in his initial 2016 campaign were lock up Hillary, drain the swamp, and the media is fake.
Right.
Fake news. So lock up Hillary. It's like honestly public. It's common knowledge. It's public information that the Clinton Foundation, and Hillary herself, especially with Benghazi, are crooked as all hell. They only care about themselves and money. They're power hungry warmongers. There's nothing
Of
that I could
course.
do about it. I can't go arrest them. I can't file a
Yeah.
lawsuit against them. People have tried, and people have gotten killed. They
Yep.
are really
Yep.
powerful, and
Yep.
shit, that could get me assassinated just for saying this.
Yeah.
They are like some of the scariest people in politics right now,
100%.
and everybody who was not a Democrat and who wasn't sucking on the teat of the Clintons, they wanted to like be damn sure that she didn't become president. There's a hot fiery passion that she was not
Mm.
going to be president. Lock her up, they were chanting, because of all the emails proving
Yeah.
that
Pizzagate.
she's made money off of arms deals. She's made money off of enslaving people, made money
Yeah.
off of destroying countries like Libya and Syria and Iraq. Um, she's a warmonger, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe I don't know, maybe she did, maybe she didn't actually call for the deaths of people, but she was complicit in them. She's
Yeah.
making money off the war machine. So that may, in my eyes, that's what a warmonger is. Somebody who's making millions off the war machine.
Yeah.
And someone also who is politically tied and can make decisions and influence transactions, or like I said, her famous line of "We came, we saw, he died" about Muammar Gaddafi in Libya.
Mm.
It's complete unrest over there.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
unimaginable, and the media covers it up, or at least they don't show any of it. They're not getting there. There's no press running out to Libya
Of
to show
course.
what's going on, the disruption that we
Of
caused by
course.
kicking him out. Maybe he was a
Yeah.
dictator, but without him, that country fell apart,
Yeah.
completely fell apart.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and so that's one reason why Trump won that first time. I don't know if this election is too crazy for me to get in today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
other thing was draining the swamp. Just like with Clinton, we have Congress men and women who have been in for 40 years. In the last 40 years, we America led and perpetuated the war on drugs, which has failed. It has lost. America is starting to give up
Yeah.
because it was never going to win. Just like with gambling and alcohol prohibition, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
People are going to always do what they want to do, and if you don't, they're going to do it illegally. Or I mean, if you don't allow it, then they will do it illegally, and then you've
Yeah.
created criminals because the government, says that I don't like this. People are bad if they do this. If you don't say that in the first place, then people are just going to do it, and we could take care of them if it becomes bad, right? But you're not
Mm.
creating criminals just by
Yeah.
people's behavior that you don't like. and that's the fucked up part. So
Yeah.
the swamp is number two, why he got elected. And then number three of the media is fake, and it's because people are especially Republicans were hate the Hollywood and New York agendas. Um, when almost all news media is controlled by Hollywood and New York, where the most money in America is, then everybody else feels left out. And
Yes.
if you're not in the club, if you're not part of the group, then where, how is anything that they're saying of your interest? When I think I heard the statistic, less than 10% of Americans have over $1,000 in stock or something like that. The stock market doesn't mean shit to regular people. I use, like, my 401k, and I have an IRA, which is stocks, and I have a Robinhood account. So I'm trying to make money, a
Mm.
little bit, but it's just um
It's not for the average. Yeah,
not the
you have
average
to.
person.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So the when Congress is sitting there going back and forth about how much money to give the every single American in the bailout, but without batting an eye, back in last March, gave over $4 trillion to the stock market, and didn't tell anybody what that means.
Mm.
Like, okay, the stock market isn't one thing; it's a collection of or it's like the Nasdaq or the S&P 500. Like there's different stock markets that hold company accounts that you buy stocks of, right? And those companies are valued based on their stock value, which is only a reflection of what the consumer of stocks thinks of that company. So it's like it's really
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
complicated. Like, people don't understand that kind of shit. And
It's almost like it's almost it's like money. It actually is just a piece of paper, or it's just data, right?
yeah,
It's
that's
literally
all it is.
data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you have a Congress that is 10 months behind on paying us, but paid them, like, I think we got about 500 billion. So they paid them, excuse me, like 8 times what they paid the entire country. And they all, made money off that transaction, of course. They wanted, and the media doesn't tell the people the truth of that oh, most of the money went to stocks. Like, yeah, they're going back and forth, but we're going to say it's Nancy Pelosi. Or if you're the other side of the media, we're going to say it's Chuck
Mm.
Schumer, or not Chuck Schumer, the other
Yeah.
guy, the Republican senator in the Senate. I forget his name, but
Yeah.
yeah, Senate Republican leader, right? Um, Mitch McConnell, there's his name. They're going to say
Right. Right.
McConnell,
Yeah.
who's holding up a bill to give Americans maybe half a billion again, maybe $1 trillion. But no, watch, come January,
Yeah.
write a stupid ass check to the stock market again, or to the banks,
Mm.
or to somebody, and the Americans are going to get the short end of the stick. So that's why Trump won, is because he had promised all these things. The reason I believe that he has lost is because he didn't live up to
Mm.
one of those.
Yeah.
And Biden, who is coming back in, is just the same people that Obama had in. It's all big corporation names that are going to run the heads
Yeah.
of offices.
Yeah.
If you look at his executive team, right? It's all people, heads of corporations, heads of like Exxon Mobil, and all kinds of you know major corporations that are now going to work for the government to make it better for those companies that they just came from, because in 4 years or 8 years, when that administration leaves office, those people go right back to those companies, get fat bonuses for making their lives easier as a business. Did
Mm.
nothing for us little guys.
Yeah. It's the same here. It's the same. It's the same here.
Yeah, I bet.
It's
And it's like
exactly the
Parliament,
same.
so it's kind of like a Congress, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, to me, it's still an illusion of a democracy. It is not, everything, no matter what happens, nothing fundamentally changes, right? Like this is so like people are so under the illusion that you're, and I don't mean like I this might obviously ruffle some feathers, but I think like people do get caught up with the fact that they think that this is going to make a huge difference, right?
Mhm.
But ultimately it's not actually changing the fact that these people still make, they will still always call the shots,
Yeah.
always. They this is why lobbying happens.
Hmm.
There are people above them.
So,
It's
which is why I mentioned earlier that I feel like algorithms, math, and technology is the solution.
right, yeah, right,
Again,
yeah.
like for instance, I'll go back to who I mentioned earlier, Andrew Yang. One of his one of the things he was running on was, or actually, I should say this: his slogan, his campaign slogan was "Math, make America think harder." Um,
Nice.
Instead
I
of
like
MAGA,
that.
it was math, which is great because if we were to use algorithms just like I described earlier, then we wouldn't have lobbyists. We wouldn't need lobbyists because
Yes,
we would be,
exactly.
once we see where all the money's going, then we could be like, no, 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 that can't be happening. That right there is
Yeah.
fucking up this whole equation. Um, it, he was running on a platform of having some kind of democracy dollars. So the government is capable of creating accounts. We do this already with food stamps. Before it used to be they would keep track of who's getting what money, but they would actually send you a food stamp check.
Mm.
In the last, I think it happened in the last 20 years, they went to a debit card kind of thing, where now they load up a debit card and they can actually track all the transactions, and you cannot use it like an ATM, so you can't take cash out. You have back during the last collapse when I turned 18 and I couldn't find a job for almost 2 years, I got on food stamps because I couldn't fucking eat.
Mm.
And I got the debit card and I would get $200 a month, and they would see that I'd go to Food for Less and I'd spend my money at, or that's just a grocery store. I'd go to the grocery store, spend money, and they would see exactly. And if they really wanted to pull that, like they would know the transaction, the date, the ID number. They could go to the store and say, "Pull me this receipt because I want to see what this guy's buying itemized." If they wanted to do an audit, they could. And now with
Mm.
algorithms, you
Wow.
can track that spending. You could track habits. You could track items. You could restrict more things. You could, create more labels, more categories. In my job, I'm using like Excel spreadsheets and different things like that, and I'm starting to learn all these different types of micromanaging in itemizing things. It's like people who are way smarter than me could do what I'm talking about way better. Is what I'm trying to say. If we were to implement these methods of accountability, you wouldn't need integrity.
Right.
You wouldn't need to account on the human factor of oh, who's going to pay this guy what.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to have. Let's just. I'm sure they're a great company. Let's just say Shell Oil Company.
Yeah.
If they go to Congress and say, hey, we want to be able to have an oil rig right there, but you got right now we can't, because of laws. If we give you this money, will you write a bill to see if we could get permission? Right, that's the nicest way I think I could say it. That would be then replaced by democracy dollars, in that you would have an account just like a food stamps account. We make lobbying from companies illegal, and the only way politicians are able to earn campaign finances, it would be through our dollars, our democracy dollar debit card.
With transparency, yeah.
Yep, and then it creates a paper trail. It wouldn't go direct. When that dollar goes into the system, it has a code. we could do it, similar, that Bitcoin and cryptos use blockchain.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
every little dollar has an ID. So
Yeah.
so when I'm so the starting point would be the government, right?
Mm.
I get my $100. It has every dollar in that $100 has an ID, and I could give it out to different campaigns over the course of this election cycle or whatever. Maybe you get $100 democracy every year, every 4 years, whatever. Because there's different elections, state, local, and federal, and you're able to donate to campaigns. Campaigns can have accounts. Let's say the mayor of any town will have to register with the government an account to receive those democracy dollars and then spend them on their democracy dollar debit card that they can only spend on, like, or they can spend it however they want, but a paper trail is going to be received because
An
it's
audit.
a transaction
Yeah.
in order for auditing. We could see if you spent that debit card at a strip club, or did you
Right. Yeah.
spend that at Kinko's making 1,000 copies, or FedEx.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more Kinko's, but FedEx making 1,000 copies of signs or something, or did you go spend it at the bar? Um, you
Yeah.
to follow
I
it,
mean,
audits could be done if there's any um, malfeasance suspected.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny how accounting is so it's been designed for middle class, um and declaring taxes. But not it's for the
Not for the
people.
rich.
It's exactly,
Yeah.
it's just, how long is this going to go on for, really?
Mhm.
It's mind blowing. And yeah, full transparency of where things are. I mean, even with charities, man, it's very
Oh,
there's
don't get me started on charities. They
yeah,
don't pay
don't get
tax.
me. It's pretty. I mean, yeah, it's amazing how, we're so okay with the way things are, and there's just so many flaws in the system. um and it's sad because now we're even more at the mercy of this crazy consumerism culture, like, you know like the now all the smaller businesses, self-employment, and everything is just, we're just completely stifled. And it's just people are now resulting in either getting jobs at places like Amazon, and the big guys, and they're not, or they're that's it, they don't have a job.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how, I don't understand how this is, I don't know, I just I don't know where this is going to go. I really don't
It's up in
know.
the air. It's very much up in the air.
Yeah.
So I again, that's why this is important. These kinds of conversations are important. Uh,
Exactly.
if if we're able to change the minds of the voter, I think that would really that make the biggest
Yeah.
difference. There, the division is what's stopping the progress. Again, I you can't really expect the leaders to you know keep their power, or restrict their own power. It's not going to happen. It's
Mm,
being that it's a drug. It's something that people get high off of.
yeah.
You can't expect them to take it away from themselves. There's no rehab for
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
because once you have power,
True.
you just keep going for it. You keep
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
what are your thoughts what are your thoughts on money itself, as in, because I know I know I sort of we've touched upon it, but like, if we, because we are like, I think it's like some people say, if you think in abundant, like if you create wealth for yourself, you can create abundance for for you and for other people. um yeah, I don't know, like I'm still torn between. That's something that I've struggled with. Like I'm sort of torn between, like, is it inevitable that we are going to have a reality where money is always going to be something that controls us? Do you know what I mean? Like we are it's like it's we're never going to be truly free.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, like, on a very very basic human, like as a spiritual person, I consider myself as someone who's connected to my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Is I feel like we are not free because of money.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there is so much that we could do with technology which requires money. But at the same time, can't we create incredible things without money? Or like I don't know, I have this strange, I'm just not sure how I feel about it. And yeah, I'm just interested to get your take a little bit more. I know we've sort of discussed it, but
That's cool.
um
I think,
yeah.
okay, so money, I have a very love hate relationship with. I think
Yeah, I think
it's
so
pretty
many people
apparent,
do,
right?
but yeah.
Um, I do like to think of it mostly as a tool.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, I have a way of thinking about how I navigate life. It's a little unique in that I don't really hear other people talk about it in the way that I do. So without getting too deep into that, I look at life in the perspective of what's the best case scenario. And what do I mean by that? It's if we're if we as a entity exist on this earth, right? What exists outside this earth? Best case
Mm.
scenario is reflected on what we know. So I'll give you the quick version. If there's been over 30,000, I'm pretty sure it's like 3,500 or so documented religions and over 30,000 deities, right? The chances of any one of them being right is slim to none. Um, with that said, if none of them are right, then I'm going to be right because, you know, why not? With that said, I think best case scenario is that we are in a video game. Um,
The Matrix.
we are in a matrix, but
Yeah.
it's an actual video game. And the reason I say it's a video game is because everything in video games that we make are reflective of our world in some way, shape, or form, or our understanding of
Yes.
physics, our understanding of time, our understanding of religion, our
Yes.
understanding of philosophy, and what we can imagine based upon those understandings.
Yes.
So we are said creation of another world. So, you know, video games can't come out and talk to us, but we play them, right? And
Mm.
in video games like Grand Theft Auto, which most people should know, you could play video games as your character. So you could make your character walk over to a TV, sit down and play video games and then play that game. So you could play a game within a game, you know, and there's nothing stopping that developer in our world from putting a game within that third game. So now you're like four levels of game deep, and each one being its
Mm.
own simulation. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
at the same time, I think we're in base physical reality. So
Yes.
so the code that we are that create ourselves, that you know DNA, which is DNA, is not some is something that we are actually like with CRISPR learning how to write ourselves. You know, we got we could genetically alter babies from having brown eyes. Like, you know, my whole family has brown eyes. Every single person in my
Mm.
family. But I could go to CRISPR if I had the money, right? If I had the money, I
Mm.
could go to CRISPR and say, hey, here, I want my son to have green eyes and, dark red hair, or whatever. Just, give him
Mm.
all these different traits that are nowhere in my genealogy because we could write that code. So I think we are in some sort of simulation, but best case scenario is
Mm.
we have the ability to perceive life how we want. We have full autonomy, and we have um, the power of will. Right, anything that you will, you can potentially create. Um,
Mm.
and we
Yeah.
have freedom of thought. And with all that said, you could look at money as just a crude form of our point system. Every video game we've ever created has some sort of
Mm.
point system. Some video games turn those point systems into currencies. So again, like Grand Theft Auto, it was
Mm.
a simulation of reality. It was a life simulator, right?
Yeah.
You're a criminal or some shit. Um,
Yeah.
the points you earn in the game is actual cash. Not for us, but it's in game
Yeah.
cash. It's how you buy your
Yeah.
guns. It's how you buy car upgrades, shit like that. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. That's our points here in reality. We don't have like a little ticker, at the corner of the screen walking around with us yet. When we have glasses, you might
Mm.
always see what your points are at. That way, like if you're doing it, all kinds of with money going in the digital direction, it's only a matter
Mm.
of time to where all you there's going to be an app that'll have all your bank accounts, your stock accounts, any kind of revenue streams from, like, if, like, for instance, we're doing this podcast. If there's a digital wallet attached to our account with said YouTube, Spotify, or anything like that, anything down the line, those digital accounts will be shown on the one account tracker that'll be on your glasses or in your optical implant, where you will see your points, every single day,
Yeah.
going up or down as you spend them. So money doesn't have to be evil, in the sense that right now we're just printing money.
Yeah.
Every country is just printing it. It's not worth gold anymore. It's worth oil. Oil is
Yeah.
speculated on the value of its supply and demand, right? Um, but we're on the verge of being uh, uh, a
Even with oil, I'm just going to add there with oil. I think we have been misled to believe that we are in scarcity with oil. But that's a whole nother. That's a whole
yeah, yeah.
nother.
But even if not, right? Even if not,
Yeah. Yeah.
only the current mode of energy generation. That's it. That's all oil
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
current dominant
Yeah.
mode of energy generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that we use, I say about 90% of things that we interact with in the world that aren't like other people, or like, sentient things like dogs and
Yeah.
stuff. Um, everything runs on some sort of energy. You got to plug it in or turn it on or do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything needs energy. So money is tied to oil, but then it's also tied to things like interest. Um, Interest is like, I give you money, as long as you haven't paid me back, you're going to keep owing me more money. Uh,
Mm.
Interest is, or I'm going to lend you this money, but you only have to pay me a certain percentage of that. By the time you've paid me back, it actually needs to be this much. You know,
Yeah.
interest is, um, there's different ideas behind the types of interest. Now they all have names and stuff. Fixed interest, or all the different names.
Yeah.
The idea that money itself has value, and provides value as a product in the product and services industry, right? So money doesn't have to behave in the manner that we behave with it. It could be something like Bitcoin, where
Yeah.
most people don't understand it.
Yeah.
you can use what we call real money to buy
Yeah.
Bitcoin, right? And we
Yeah.
know that Bitcoin is a currency, but we don't
Yeah.
know how it behaves.
Mm.
It's wild. And when it,
Yeah.
if we were able to track the value contained on the planet, like just like one world currency, right? Which globalist type figures that they insane vast amount of money. They're playing on the chessboard of Earth, like they're trying to make a one world currency,
Yes.
and that's where
Hence why everything's going digital. Yeah.
yeah, hence why things are going digital because
Yeah.
all those in the UN are trying to do their version of it, and then you got China. They want to own
Yeah.
fucking everything,
Yeah.
and then you got you know crazy shit that again religious shit I don't understand going
Yeah.
on in the Middle East with Israel, Turkey, Iran, all of that fiasco. A lot of which kind of our fault.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna get
Yeah.
I'll say it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of it's
Yeah.
America's fault.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're the only ones, but
Yeah.
money is very, very complicated. How we use it now doesn't have to be what it'll always be, but until
Mm.
society stops seeing it as a means of survival, it's not going to change. Um, that's what sucks
Yeah. Yeah.
because like that video that you had shared with me, the mindset of abundance.
Mm.
That's not something you could preach to everybody. No,
Yeah.
she's she. I understand she has positivity or positive intentions in her message.
Right.
I understand that she's just trying to say like don't feel poor, and you won't be poor if you don't feel poor. You just
Right.
act like you have money and money will come. And it's like no, that's not how it works. It'll make
Yeah.
it easier for you to go to work, for you to find a means of making money honestly without taking or hurting other people by being positive, by using the things that she talked about. But that's not how money is made. You
Right.
can make money ruthlessly too. You can make money
Yeah.
all kinds of way, but it's not only the result of making the money or attaining the money yourself, but the effect that it then has on your society around you. Is that generating prosperity for everyone at once, or is it only benefiting you? Like that's
Mm.
right now with the war on drugs, right? It's only created money not only I'm sorry, it has created a shitload of money problems for everyone,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
one, had we never started this and we had been studying and developing products with all these now beneficial psychedelics that we know,
Mm.
medicine would be way different today. Because if
Yep.
somebody, if let's just say everybody in the 50s and 60s when psychedelic mushrooms got popular and LSD got popular, if everybody actually just took that and we're like, you know what? No, we need to figure out diplomatic solutions to everything. We need to stop this war machine because it's only going to destroy our species, and we need to figure out a way to use oil to get off of oil.
Mm.
Or use technology and other means to get off of oil. Oil can be used for things without it being our primary mode of energy, energy creation. Um, we need lubricants, we need plastic, we need all kinds of shit that we can use oil for, but it doesn't need to be how we generate our energy. Which, if it was renewable energies like wind, solar, and aqua turbines, things that are they will never go away, and they're not going to negatively impact the globe
Environment. Yeah.
environment but the planetary environment, right? Because everybody goes through that shit. Then we wouldn't have all these wars for oil. We wouldn't have big conglomerate energy companies that are dependent on that a lot of the time stolen oil or fought over oil. Everybody gets the sun 12, 13, 14 hours a day, except for maybe
Yeah.
the North and South Pole. But for the majority of the planet, the sun's there every single day.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's where I was going to say is I do think that we've created this, we've perpetuated this idea that we need something, like we're always fighting for something.
Mhm.
And I just don't,
Resource wars.
for resource, but I don't think that Mother Nature or Mother Earth has given us everything that we could possibly need in order for us to thrive. And I just think this is the creation of human power, of power for mankind,
Yeah.
and greed, that we've created this monstrous idea that we need resource, and it's a resource that's not creating anything that's actually going back into generating more for our planet, for everyone.
Hmm.
This is just a power struggle. This is
Yeah.
just, again, a power struggle issue. It's just and if it's not oil, it's something else. And it's just, yeah, I mean, for example, plastic. um we could use, I don't know if you use hemp is an extremely durable, extremely powerful um uh substance that you can use, that's even more sustainable than, well, obviously way more sustainable than plastic. But it's about actually using what we have, and efficiently. It's not, it's this is, whether it's oil or something else, it's just that it's definitely, this is just rooted in power. um and yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, again, and I want to go down the psychedelics, and I definitely do want to talk about that. And it's just, yeah, I just think, and I'm gonna let that marinate with the money, almost being like, and I think it's definitely getting there. I
Yeah.
just hope that we can turn things around, and
So
it
I could
doesn't.
I could take what you just said and segue into psychedelics.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
do.
So the war on drugs created a lot of money problems, like I said, right? You not only medical, but it fed the prison industrial complex. It gave it gave an enemy to society and police that was highly feared because it was amongst society, right? It's always say no to drugs. All drugs are bad, and if you know a drug addict, then they are a bad person. So
Mm.
that narrative that was created, like I said, fed the prison industrial complex. It gave the police and society an enemy. It took um, it made the ability to maintain a good job almost impossible for someone who would rather use cannabis, for instance. Um, it makes it more difficult for you to maintain a job if you have to do a drug test because cannabis stays in your system for 30 days. For the average
Mm.
person, cannabis binds to fat cells, so it's if you're more or less fat as
Oh,
long
okay.
as it stays in your system. Uh,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
and so if you have say you get hurt at work, then you have to be at the company you're at, but because of work you injure yourself, you can't use cannabis, a non-detrimental pain reliever. You can't use it because you might lose your job if you get drug tested. So then you get
Mm.
stuck on the opiate,
Mm.
that's gonna numb your pain. But now you're addicted to something that is
Mm.
destructive to the liver
Yeah.
and the kidneys, right? And not only is it destructive, but it costs you more money than cannabis does. Cannabis is stupid cheap, especially here in California where it grows crazy, it grows like weeds, just like they call it weed, right?
Yeah.
It grows crazy. It's not that hard, and just as any real farmer, learns how to grow apples, learns how to grow carrots, learns how to grow tomatoes. If you become a real cannabis farmer, you learn how to grow it and how to grow it clean and how to grow it properly because you want a good product, right?
Right.
In the illegal industry of other narcotics that are chemical based, you know, Cocaine. The legal version of that
Mm.
is lidocaine, right? I don't know if you know that lidocaine, that like dentists,
No.
that comes from the coca plant, same as cocaine, just a different process. It's made in a lab as opposed to made in barrels in the rainforest somewhere,
Right. Okay.
using gasoline and shit as extractions. Uh,
Yeah.
or yeah, extraction solvents. You could make it medical grade cocaine available at a pharmacy. Like the
Mm.
methadone is a medical grade meth for
Right.
meth addicts.
Yeah. Right.
And you got heroin only was created because they needed something to get people off of morphine, right? And that's why they called it heroin, because it was the hero. Turned out to be more
Oh.
addictive and deadly. And you could get that on the streets, but it's not good. It's not a good
Yeah.
supplement, right? But
Yeah.
people are addicted to the painkillers. Their nerves hurt and when they're firing regularly. It feels like pain to them, which sucks. Like that's insane. That's why,
Mm.
excuse me. That's why with heroin users, you can shoot once and be addicted for life, because it then hurts to be alive.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those people that then maybe lose their job because of addiction are demonized, and at times criminalized, right? Because of a system that doesn't operate in a forgiving manner. And
Yeah.
rehabilitation isn't real in jail either.
Yes. Agree.
It's you become part of the incarceration system, in and out,
Yes.
in and out.
Yeah.
It's a revolving door.
Yeah.
And so that leads to more crime, and taking one step back, it takes money out of the system, which could be growing instead of trying to perpetuate itself, the system of corruption. Um so money money is terrible, but the war on drugs and the lack of psychedelics in the fabric of society has caused, there's a bunch of words actually that come to mind. I would say disillusion for where we are
Mm.
at, and the perfect example of that is reality TV, the takeover of reality TV and media,
Mm.
making like the richest women are the Kardashians, kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, and then it also it also caused, the deterioration of the family, when somebody gets caught for weed. Like for instance, the state of Florida, zero tolerance. I mean, they just started passing laws, but I was in Florida a few years back, and it was zero tolerance then, to where if you get caught with 1 gram, you could do 5 years in jail.
Wow.
I have like 5 grams right here in this jar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. What does that mean? I do
It's
25 years,
crazy.
25 years in prison for five grams of flour.
Wow.
You know, and it sucks. It really fucking sucks, because
Yeah.
those 5 years take away from the kids, take away, from that man, and this has nothing to do with, family structure or the man being the leader of the family or anything, but him as an individual providing for that family, even if the wife does as well, takes away half of the income. And
Yeah.
when you have a set living situation and half your income is gone, you may not be able to maintain that living system, right?
Yeah.
And so that destruction of society was caused because of the overreaction to psychedelics, the overreaction to cannabis, which is a very mild psychedelic, right? But still a psychedelic nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah.
The war on drugs being implemented is what really made America slip. It was on the way to being, we could already be in this utopia and have been the shining example for the rest of the world, just like we pretend to be.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
America does have that type of, ego,
Ideology. Yeah.
ideology, right? Egotistical ideology. And
Yeah.
it'd be great if we lived up to it. Seriously, I don't think anybody would say like
Of
that would be a
course.
bad thing if we lived up to it, but it's pretending, it's false, it's a false um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's false is what it
Yeah.
is. And it sucks. We're over here, we're phonies. We're big old
Yeah. Yeah.
phonies. We're about our shit as individuals. We're very prideful people. But the system that America created through the war on drugs and generations that were lost information to where now, as we experiment, as we start having these spiritual revolutions through I mean, honestly, these chemicals, which are amazing chemicals,
Mm.
they allow our brains to do so much more than we are taught. We're taught that they will destroy your mind. Fuck that. It's complete opposite.
Yeah.
Complete
Yeah.
opposite. They have repaired and accelerated my mind beyond measure.
But
Uh,
do you think that this is the thing is the war on drugs, the reason why it's so taboo is exactly like the problem is the solution. Like the problem being the fact that we can't access, we have this stigma behind psychedelics. It is so incredibly powerful, and it's been given to us by Mother Nature,
mhm.
like in its purest form, right? I'm not talking about the shit that
No,
that we
no,
get.
no, straight up. It just
And
grows.
it just fucking grows, and I
Yeah.
just think like I just can't to stop people. I don't think that there's anything on, if Mother Earth has given this to us, it should not be stopped by by mankind, or be prohibited, or you are now incarcerated for life, in some cases, right?
Yeah.
And it's insane to me that we allow that, right? Like we and it's amazing because, as you said, rightly said, what it does for you would mean that I don't think that the world would be running the way it is at all.
Mhm.
As you said, we would probably live a much more utopian existence. um, and there's a reason why, and I honestly genuinely think that for as long as psychedelics and well, herbs are going to be illegal and not accessible, or deemed as like something that's completely taboo, we are going to be living in this kind of world. I think one of the keys to actually changing the way we exist is to actually revolutionize psychedelics. And I think we are, because I think we are kind of very slowly moving in that direction, but I think we are getting there.
Mhm. There's
I think
evidence for
like,
that. I would agree. There's definitely evidence for that. With the UN just they took it off their highest scheduling and like moved it down a little bit. I forget what the article that I was reading exactly said, but no, I mean, there are
mm,
states like Oregon, places like Portugal, places like Uruguay, where they've decriminalized all drugs as an experiment. Like, hey, we're gonna try it, and if it fails, then we have the study, then we did it. We did it and
mm,
proved that it didn't work. Or if it works, then we proved it worked.
right.
Um, I don't know the results of the other countries, but I know in here in California, in Oakland, they decriminalized psilocybin mushrooms. I think all psychedelics, because I think you could do like DMT, you could do acid,
Yeah.
you could do that all in Oakland. I think it's Oakland County or Alameda County, or maybe just within the city of Oakland. And we haven't heard like, oh, somebody, stupid high on acid went on a
Yeah.
killing spree. Nothing. No, what
Exactly.
we actually hear, and a lot of people know, is that no, people are taking acid and writing, a million words of code for companies
Right.
and creating all these fucking internet, millions of dollars.
Microdosing. Exactly.
Microdosing.
Yeah.
Well, not even
Yeah.
full dosing, full on
Right.
dosing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
like,
but like that's an example of what could. I mean, if we learn how to, this is the thing is we think that because obviously if you take psychedelics, you can or you can misuse it and it can be extremely life threatening. But yet at the same time, we feed our kids sugar and absolute garbage
yeah.
from a young age, and we don't have any fear of them misusing that.
Mhm.
You know, we shove it in their faces, but the amount the where the levels of spiritual, emotional, intellectual evolution that we can reach through psychedelics, and you know, and microdosing is just the tip of the iceberg.
Mhm.
You know, and if we can help, if we could all learn how to use it properly, my God, like I don't even, yeah, I just think where would we be now rather than putting microchips in each other and creating like you know, right, like this is mind control, whereas with psychedelics that's a
Freeze.
spiritual.
It frees the mind.
Yeah,
It,
right, yeah, exactly, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
I wish, I wish psychedelics, never became illegal. But I mean, again, it goes back to our ability to communicate and distribute information. You said it. The internet is undefeated,
Yeah,
and it's going to keep happening. The breakdown of all these taboos is inevitable. It really is.
yeah,
It's
it's
just a
true.
matter of how we face the opposition. Um,
Yeah,
we have to be peaceful because
yeah,
we know that love is the answer. Love is
absolutely,
dope. Love is the shit. You know,
absolutely.
um, and it really makes you wonder, like, you know. So I've been a psychonaut for 10 plus years, taking psychedelics, and I've taken them all at this point, except for ayahuasca, but I've done DMT.
Mm,
Um, there is a true good and evil, like it's
mm.
out there.
So do you, okay, so do you believe that it's evil entities or that, okay, I mean the very very, this is probably like
No, go ahead.
this is probably very I'm being a bit pragmatic, but like for me, because I don't I think that there are darker entities,
Mhm.
um but I don't know if I believe in like,
Demons and shit.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I'm on board. Um, I'm in the same way. Very skeptical of entities. Very
Right,
skeptical of demons, like physical manifestations of evil. Um, it's funny because as people, we tell scary stories, movies, books, and things of monsters in the dark, werewolves and vampires and things like that. And then, when as you grow up and pay attention and learn how the game actually operates, you start realizing, no, people are pretty fucking evil. People are the bad guys. People are the scary monsters in the dark. People are the ones that are causing
yeah,
all the bad things. There's no boogeyman. There's no in Mexican folklore, the cucuy, which is the goat eater, like that thing that isn't real. But no, there's real men with guns that want to come and make, so like in Mexico. I'm Mexican. In Mexico, our neighbors to the south, their government and society is like infested with the cartels, different drug cartels, and you'll have just like in old timey gangster movies, stores that have to pay tribute to the gangs in order for protection. But it's just, if you don't pay these guys, these same guys are going to come in and rob your shit every day until you pay them, and then you just keep paying them and they won't do it again. um, you know I forgot what I was going with that. That shit just left my mind. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if you had a society that was more free, more Yeah, I lost that thought. That shit's gone.
Entity. I think we were going on the
Entities. There you go. I
yeah,
knew it. There you go.
entities.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so you have these society or these different folklores throughout different cultures, but there's no real monsters. None of that exists.
Right.
Um, it's all people. It's
Right.
all people. So good and evil are intention. It's purely
Right.
it,
Wow, I love that.
it's
Wow, that was
all
powerful.
intention. No matter what you do, even if you fail and hurt somebody, you didn't intend evil. You
Right.
intended good, and you may have fucked up. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and that element is chaos. So there's good, evil, and chaos. Chaos,
Yes.
chaos. I say it all the time. I thrive in chaos. I do my best work in chaos,
Mm.
and it's because that's where the unpredictable happens. That's where you're always
Being in love with the unknown. Yes.
and if you make yourself available to that, then good things can happen, and
I call that courage.
you can't
Yeah.
foresee, or you can always be hesitant and observant and looking for the dangers, looking for evil. And it's funny because you see it in memes all the times
Mm.
now. You just look at it, and when you can recognize something is bad or not, you say, "Not today, devil, not today, Satan."
Yeah.
You know, and that's become a meme. It's like, fuck, not today,
Yeah.
Satan. That's some bad shit. That's gonna make my day bad. That's gonna piss somebody off. It's gonna negatively affect my life or somebody else's. I'm gonna instead do this. Um, that's what it is. Intention. Do you, you can accidentally do bad things, but that doesn't make it in itself evil. You know.
That is so powerful. That I love that so much. I think that is really powerful. It is intention.
Mhm.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, and I think that's the thing is we've created this fear, like, and this is like just it's just a fear, like the illusion that heaven and hell is somewhere outside of earth, but
It's
heaven and hell, exactly, heaven and hell exists here.
Mhm.
Everything that we think is, I we live in there obviously there are other entities. I mean, I believe that there are other entities. I believe that there's so much more than what we can see and feel and hear. But in terms of good, in terms of evil, I don't believe that's, I think, as you said exactly correctly, it's intention,
Mhm.
which is created through us. So if you see evil, it's almost like a mirror manifestation of where you are.
Mhm.
Sometimes people talk about, or like it's like it's also a judgment, like um how you're judging something is a reflection of like, for example, as you said, it's intention. You can create a scenario where you judge someone as evil or bad without understanding the bigger picture, and it's a reflection of how you see that person. So it's yeah, I think it's just a creation of intention, and I think that is so powerful. That is really, really powerful.
So so
I'm just
so to touch on what you just said, um, that also means that good and evil can be relative. Um,
Yes,
if
exactly,
Well, good and
exactly.
evil, and like it's told out right now in the
100%.
climate with the, let's just say, the three main religions: Islam, Judaism, and
Yes.
all of Christianity, right? And I'll lump
Yes.
Catholicism in with that too, right? Um, they all think they're doing the right thing, but if
Right.
they were to take a step back and say, is that human treating that other human the way he wants to be treated? you know it's like,
Yes.
uh, there's good and evil within perspective, and then if you take
Exactly.
yourself out of it, then you could start seeing true good and evil. And that's what I do.
Exactly.
I don't associate, I don't label myself with any idea. If I do, to make just to make a conversation simple, sometimes I'll just say I'm agnostic. um, but it's
Mm.
because I want to see beyond what other people talk about. You know what
Mm.
they if the people that are convinced they know everything are the people that I'm not really like. I'll listen to, but
Yes.
I already take it as no. Well, then you don't, because
Yes,
I admit
exactly.
I don't know everything. I don't. I sure as hell don't know everything.
But we're not supposed
I have
to.
a good idea though. On issues.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But we're not, I don't believe that we're supposed to know all the answers, because there are some things that are beyond our comprehension. And it may not be until the afterlife, or maybe not even, who knows. But I think, yes, I think that, as you said, it's all relative. I think there are consequences, and I do believe in energy, but I do think that good and bad is relative, completely relative. And yeah, I mean, like, I think the reason I sort of bring up that and psychedelics is just the experiences. And I know maybe this is for another podcast, but it's just the experiences that people have had on psychedelics has can be extremely, like, some people can go into psychosis and some people can be extremely traumatized.
Hmm.
And I know we've talked about this before, but and or they've witnessed like darker entities.
Yeah.
um and
A lot of
I
that's
mean, some
internal
people.
demons. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of emotional, spiritual baggage, memories, traumas. A lot of that manifests itself, and then
Mm,
when you play
interesting.
around on the edge of reality, on the edge of consciousness, then it's easy to slip off, and that's
Yeah.
what's annoying. It really is. If you're not in the right setting, in the right environment, with the right people,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to lose yourself. It really is. When
Yeah.
you navigate the realm of the mind, navigate the realm of the soul,
Yeah.
it's like dropping yourself in a foreign country, with no map and saying
Yeah.
get to the airport and find yourself back. You're
Yeah.
gonna have a bad time. You don't
Yeah.
know the language, you don't know what's going on, and this is the
Yeah.
first time this has ever happened to you. Psychedelics are not a toy. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I say that damn clear. And I've learned my
Yeah.
lesson the hard way, in terms of respecting these tools, respecting
Yeah.
these tools. Psilocybin, amazing, amazing for the
Mm,
and LSD, amazing for the mind.
yeah.
Phenomenal. Like I said,
Yeah.
it does repair work and it does enhancement work. It just I mean, every time, and it just doesn't stop. And the only thing that makes the difference is quality, and that
Mm,
quality is the ability to create quality chemicals are restricted by governments. And it's just that is the black and white of the situation. Is that people, as people discover what I've discovered and what thousands, millions of others have discovered within psychedelics, and as things change, it's going to be evident that we are in this bad place now because we have bad shit, like everything.
right.
We have bad shit. Um, the reason ecstasy was created is because it's a cheaper way for the street to distribute MDMA. But what you really want is MDMA,
Mm,
Molly, what people,
yes.
what people are taking now, because they
Yeah.
realize that ecstasy was just cut with that with like random other shit, and especially like right now, people are getting really sick because they're cutting it with that fentanyl, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's where death is happening. Like,
Yeah.
and this is the scariest time to use street drugs, and it sucks. It sucks
Mm,
because they, again, back to intention. It's usually just have a good time. You don't take drugs to have a bad time. Nobody takes
yeah.
drugs to have a
Exactly.
bad
Yeah.
time. You know,
Yeah.
you're either having a bad time and you want to feel better, or you're going to have a good
Oh,
time
you're seeking
and
the
you want it
truth.
to be
Yeah.
better, right?
Yeah.
In terms of party drugs. And then, for instance, when
Mm,
you want to do psychedelics, of the mental and spiritual nature, You want to, you want something clean that isn't going to hurt you because you're trying to develop from within, right?
Yeah.
And when, I don't know who makes my acid. I don't know the guy. I'm sure
Mm.
he doesn't talk to but two or three people, and then it goes out. Um, it's scary. It's scary. I would much rather go down to Walgreens and get my prescription acid.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go down to the pharmacy. You know,
Yeah.
I would much rather not have to be
Take that risk.
stigma. The shame from the stigma of psychedelics because of the damn war on drugs. You know,
So
psychedelics
I
are so freeing of the mind and the soul that it pains you to the acknowledgement that what you're doing is seen as bad.
yeah, that's some powerful shit. Yeah. I mean, because I love the way when we I mean this is how we connected in the first place was because we both saw someone who was looking for an experience um with DMT and clearly was just looking for guidance.
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
and and this is the problem is that it can if it, the intention behind it, it's that person is
And you
clearly
could see it in the
looking,
way he was typing, like he was genuine.
yeah,
Yeah.
genuinely just looking for guidance. And that's how we both sort of, it just didn't feel right that because it's now like because you have to kind of go to different continents in order to even to experience it properly.
Mhm.
Some people make money off that. And it's yeah it sucks, man, because this is where we so desperately need, um like as you said, like, and I think you mentioned before, like the like the categories of like what, and I would like, I'd be grateful if you could sort of repeat it for whoever's listening, is like, you know what psychedelics, like the kind of the scale, as to like obviously starting with marijuana and then kind of like going up, according to like the mind and the soul, or consciousness, because that's really important. And I think like people think, sort of think it's very recreational, but it's very much, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, of course, but it's not for that purpose. And like I think just particularly ayahuasca and DMT, like those are definitely the two that I must try at some point. But
So
yeah, anyway, go ahead.
yeah, I can break it down. So a good way to think about it is think about these chemicals. So THC, psilocybin, MDMA, LSD, and DMT, ketamine, all these different chemicals. Think of them as vehicles. Um, you can have a Ferrari with like 900 horsepower tow the same trailer as a truck with only like 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower. Even though the mechanisms are different, they could do the same thing, right? Drugs, or I'm sorry, these chemicals, um, they alter your state of mind, and you could get to the same amount of power with each one, but the vehicles are different. It's still, no matter what, even though you could achieve the same things through the different drugs, they're different. Um, so with cannabis, it's you could consume it in the two main ways, right? Either smoking it and or vaping it. They're about the same shit. And then eating it. When you smoke it, and I'm sure I'm just preaching to the choir for our audience at least, but for those of you who don't know what it's like to smoke weed, um, it does kind of like alleviate the mind. It relaxes you. It's very calming, and it also enhances your conscious awareness. So your
Mm.
immediate the awareness of everything around you. You're kind of just like looking around, paying a little more attention to the mundane, and
Mhm.
like if something moves, you'll catch it and be like, "What was that?" And
Yeah.
like it's very very light, but it does,
Yeah.
it alters your state of mind, um, but it's not disorienting,
Yes.
unless you have a chemical imbalance already, which I will touch on that at the end of everything. Um, so for most people, it's just very relaxing. But can be stimulating with different varieties. Most people know about indica and sativa, and then the lesser known ruderalis, which is less psychoactive. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's where they found CBD, which is not a psychoactive cannabinoid. Even though it's found in cannabis, it doesn't get you high. So we don't need to talk about that. It's more medicinal than
Right.
that. Um, then after that, now I got to say I haven't tried ketamine. I would say Molly, MDMA, and psilocybin are probably on par with each other in terms um, of intensity and experience. So MDMA is binds to the serotonin receptors, just like the others, which is as the common denominator between all the psychedelics, they bonding to the serotonin receptors. It's basically how you experience things. It affects is how you experience things, and with MDMA just making everything sound like a good idea, mushrooms kind of makes you just focus on any idea. It's weird. It has everything to do with what you're interested in the moment, and it's a very in the moment substance. So, or the both of them are. I've done psilocybin way more than I've done Molly, so I'm more comfortable talking about psilocybin. So,
Mm.
um, the big problem that we found with psilocybin is the mushroom itself, um, being that they are a very, very, very delicate organism. You have to grow them in a fully laboratory respected environment. Like everything has to be sterile. And I don't mean just, you got to clean, sweep, and mop. No, you got to scrub everything. Everything needs to be sterilized and uncontaminated, and nowhere, any mode of contamination needs to be very far from your laboratory setup. So that makes it very dangerous to produce. If
Mm.
if you have if mold gets into your fungus, that's when bacteria grows, and that's what gets people sick. Um, if if you do get a bad batch, you're going to have a bad time, straight up. Whether you get physically ill, or because you get slightly physically ill, it makes you have a mentally bad trip. Like you start
Mm.
you manifest or imagine the pain to be spirits, to be and all this really does have to do with your level of comprehension of reality, which is like what
Right.
you said, you're balancing on the edge of reality with these substances. um, you know like a really religious person could be like, oh, I'm getting sick because I ate these mushrooms, that's God punishing me, or that's the devil trying to
Yes.
harm me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting,
Yeah.
you know
Right. 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 Yeah.
so interpretation is really
Right.
big on it, which
Yeah.
is why I say you need to be in the right environment with the right people, in the right conditions. um, it's it's fun, it's very fun, but you got to be responsible with them. You have to
Yeah.
respect them when taking them, just as respectful as when you're growing them, which kind of makes it that much more valuable in my mind. The trip and the substance itself is more valuable, um, and we will see it become a staple in society. Give it 20 years,
Yeah.
10 years, if that. um,
be because it's like it's something delicate. You got to raise it right, treat it right, make sure it's
Yeah.
perfect when it's done, and then when you take it, you got to make sure everything is perfect, and that way you could just fully experience the the emotion of what I call of the universe of God.
Yes.
Mushrooms will make you feel God. They'll make
Yeah.
you feel God. I swear. Um,
Yeah.
we talked about God and before a little bit, and that's just the existence of everything.
Yeah.
Feel one with everything is truly a humbling experience, but a
Mm.
comforting, a warm experience, and it changes your perspective. It makes I honestly think that like if there was a real Jesus, he took some mushrooms and felt one with the earth. He felt one
Yeah.
with everybody, and he
Yeah.
wanted to. He was trying to figure out a way to get everybody to understand it without the mushrooms, and probably at the Last Supper gave everybody mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then fucking, I think it was Judas that stabbed him in the back or whatever. He fucking had a bad
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because he was
Dude.
fighting his own inner demons, and he was like, nope, I gotta stab him in the back. You know,
Yeah.
sucks.
That is yeah, that is that is so powerful
Uh,
because I think that is so true.
yeah. And in the book, he calls it. He's like, one of you will betray me. I already know it.
Yeah.
That fool
And
just
it's funny because I feel like that's the same now. I feel like, the more you speak on this level of consciousness, the more friends you lose, the more people start to look at you differently.
mhm.
The more, society kind of will kind of look at you like, well, you're just, like uh, just, you're not part of society, basically.
Yeah, yeah, you get
um
outcasted. Yeah.
you get outcasted, right?
Hmm.
And it's funny because, yeah, it's yeah, I think that's such a powerful analogy to make because,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that the spiritual truth and awakening with psychedelics like LSD and ayahuasca and DMT, um it's going to be such an important part of how we reach, if hopefully, in our lifetime we may experience um just a big shift in consciousness, because we are not there. And
Well,
I really think we're at a point where it could go the other way,
it,
if
it,
that
it,
makes sense.
it's potentially the next phase of evolution. I think, right?
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
is
exactly.
is if evolution happens to um, for us to acclimate to our environments as
Yeah.
organisms, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we have different skin color is because we're acclimating to the climate. That's
Yes.
just a mechanism of evolution. If we isolate ourselves from nature and we have nice clothes, we don't need to walk so much, so our muscles don't get as big, and
Mm.
like if everything is getting easier externally, then the only thing to evolve is us internally, right?
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes,
I
yes.
think as we make our life easier and do things like with
Yes.
universal basic income, where again
Yes.
survival is not of necessity, then it will
Yes.
not be of necessity then for evolution either. I think that we
Exactly.
would just
Yeah.
grow our minds and our hearts,
Yes.
and when people say the heart, they're talking about the soul, our compassion,
Right.
our inner remorse. You know what I mean? Like the ability to feel, acknowledge, and feel bad for other people, things, situations, and the desire to do something about it. Again, because
Exactly.
it's you want to do good.
Because, and again, that goes down to, at the moment, we're so dissociated with each other. We see ourselves so separate from each other that we don't understand that we're all connected.
Yeah.
What happens to you, well, it happens to all of us
Hmm.
at one point, at some point, and somehow it affects every single one of us.
Yeah.
And it's the idea that because we haven't reached that evolution, because we are so concerned, we don't understand, we are very primitive in that sense, where we kind of think it's a very isolated, like this is just everyone thinks that they live in their own little world, but we are all connected.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't
I
know,
think
I
I think that's why it's dangerous for humanity to keep going down the path of religious ideology.
yes, I
I think it's
agree.
dangerous. I don't
I
think that
agree.
any of these people have ill intention, but like or no, I should take that back. What I mean is that originally, um, people at the lowest levels of religion, just the regular person that goes to church. That's who I mean. They don't have ill intention. But when you have religious leaders that are calling for war against other religious,
Mm,
communities, or calling for war against countries because the predominant religion is a certain religion, like what's going on with Armenia and Turkey, right?
yes.
That has nothing to do with politics. That's religion, right?
Yeah.
It's religion and power because Armenia declared that they wanted their own sovereignty and they wanted to manage their own democracy.
Right.
That means that they wouldn't think and believe what Azerbaijan thinks,
Yeah.
and the way that they enforce control on their people, right? Now there's that this whole second wave of Armenian genocide, these attacks are being carried out, and nobody's benefiting from it.
Yeah.
It's just killing people.
Exactly.
There's more killing people over an idea of which you're just one of thousands.
Yeah.
One
Exactly.
of thousands, one version, one small narrative in the vast history of humanity that is again more than likely wrong.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
not saying that it's wrong for you to think of, theology, deities, philosophy,
Yeah.
way to live life, but I
But
mean,
to kill people from
kill
it.
people, and then
Yeah.
taking it further back in religion to enslave people.
To
You know,
enslave people. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is we will never live free with religion.
Yeah.
Never will.
I agree. I
If
agree.
if we could agree, and this is where um, my version, I was explaining to you the game. My my way of thinking about life is that no matter what religion you are, that's cool, but you're still in the game that everybody else is.
Exactly.
Let's
Exactly.
acknowledge the game first. Let's
Exactly.
first and foremost, what's going to make this game easier for everybody to play without hurting anyone,
Yes.
without taking advantage. That's the thing because with mass communication at this scale, there is zero reason why we should continue to think of ourselves as isolated groups of people. We're all on this rock together, and
Absolutely.
if you know if for some reason all the people that are in power get sick or they lose their power, whether they die or whatever, all of us are still here. What did anything that you guys are doing make it easier for us to then pick up the
Yeah.
pieces, right?
Exactly.
To
Exactly.
keep this game moving forward. Again, I think we need to use technology to create accountability, and then
Yeah.
once we do that, then um, but it has to be advocated for the game. You know what I mean? Like the game, like the
Yes.
game being Earth, because
Yes.
once we take off and go to Mars and we start colonizing Mars, nothing in America matters. Nothing in
Yeah,
there's nothing in India and
that's so true.
Sri Lanka and Australia.
That's
Nothing.
so true. It's so true.
You know, because
And
then you're playing God.
that's
You're not playing.
that is this is do you know what that is? You've just literally like, yeah, that is so so powerful, because we talk about this as if this is the be all and end all, right?
No, no,
And it's
yeah, we
like
do.
we
It's
put so much,
arrogant.
we put so, it's so arrogant, and it's we
Uh-huh.
put so much and it's a reflection of being ego driven, right? We're so self-absorbed as a rate as a species. And I just think, you know, this is, first of all, this is why I see the distinction between religion and spirituality is religion's very constrictive, and idealistic, and it's actually the whole punishing, being like rewarded and punished, is beyond what we're here for.
Yeah.
I mean, as in the other, we're beyond. This is just, it's just another way of create of I think of creating restrictions and fear, in implementing fear. And again, as you're saying about we all inhabit this earth, this goes to consciousness. We inhabit this earth, and then whatever happens, we also, like, we exist in a spiritual level too. So what happens, like, why do we not take care of our spiritual health at the same time? Because that's a whole nother existence.
Yeah, no,
This
we'll
is just
definitely
a
have
physical reality.
we're gonna have to break that down on our part 2 for sure.
Yeah, I think this is yeah, this we're going down a whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've just realized that it's coming up to, for me, 7:45.
Yeah.
But this
Give me
has
just
been
1 minute,
amazing.
okay? I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I had to say goodbye to my mom.
No, it's cool. Bless you. Like, I think we'll call it. We'll wrap this one up, and then we'll definitely have to do a part 2 at some point.
Definitely.
But it's been awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree. Definitely enjoyed talking to you, getting a lot of that off my mind. Again, you know, like you said, you know, people, you get ostracized, and you know, black sheep when you kind of think this way and then want to talk about it. You know, nobody wants to have these conversations at parties. Nobody wants to have these conversations, you know, when you're hanging out or whatever, but they need to be had. You know, and
absolutely.
You know, you don't have to be educated. You don't have to be, you know, a scholar, just to, you know, just to have ideas. And so,
exactly.
You know, I definitely wish you luck in, you know, in your future endeavors, in, you know, working on expanding this conversation with other people. And, you know,
likewise.
You know, if it's just throwing out ideas, you know, then that's what the world needs. We need suggestions, you know, because we all know that what they're doing now is not working. What they're doing now is not working. And, you know, they say that they represent us. They say that they're for the people. So maybe they'll listen to us if we put it out there, you know.
Yeah, if that's the intention.
Yeah. And your intention is truly to represent the people. Well, here I am.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. And hopefully many more. So
yeah, many more. And then, you know, so for this going forward, I think I'm going to try and have this type of conversation with a lot of other people.
Good.
This has been very fun.
Likewise.
Yeah, very, you know, just fulfilling, able to get this kind of stuff off my mind, knowing that somebody else is in agreement.
Yeah, I agree. And I think definitely we just keep on having these conversations, because they're very, very, they, as you said, they're I think we speak for a lot of people. And it's a relief, and it will be someone else's answers to them speaking up too. So I think this is amazing. Thank you so much for creating this, and you know, we'll be in touch. And yeah, all right, dude.
All right, well, you take care. Okay,
you too. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.